Hey y'all, tias, hermanos, hermanas, abuelitas and abuelitos. This is Justin here. I'm back with you with another video, and I wanted to share some things with you. Just let's talk today. You know what I mean? So, if you don't know, the Clark sisters actually came up with a. They actually came out with a movie. It was executive produced by Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, sorry, Mary J. Blige, and the movie kind of depicted what was going on at that time, and I want to kind of dive into it a little bit. It's not going to be a long video, but it kind of kind of triggered a lot of things, and it kind of really brought up a lot of feelings about things. And thank God I've gotten over that. Thank God I've got therapy. Thank God, I know the Lord. But I am a Christian. I am a believer. I love God with all of my heart. I believe everything he says is true. But I also believe, and I give grace where it's needed, and I'll explain that later on what I mean. So if you don't know, like I said, the movie premiered yesterday, and there are 5 sisters. There is Twiki, which is Albertina. There is Dorinda. There is Karen. There is Jackie, sorry, and there is Denise. And each of those sisters are phenomenal. Like their mother taught them how to sing as one. Their mother taught them how to move as one. And so let's just get into it. So one, Maddie Moss Clark. We see early on in the movie that Maddie Moss Clark's marriage was suffering because of the fact that she I wouldn't say it was starting to suffer because of her continue to choose engagements over her marriage. And what ended up happening is, long story short, he ended up hitting her, ended up hitting Jackie, and what ended up happening is it literally set the tone for her going into the next phase of their lives. So if we go into it, you look at Jackie, and you look at them, and so they start singing at an early age. And if you don't know the story, is Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, she would get dreams of parts in her dream, and the Lord would give it to her. So she would wake up, and she would wake her daughters up at 2 or 3 in the morning, go to the piano, because tape recorders and things were expensive back then. They couldn't afford that. So she would have her daughters be the tape recorder, and she would have them sing the parts. And what was so amazing is, at a very young age, she had recognized their talents and abilities, and she capitalized on that. Bravo. She did an amazing job with that, and she knew what was inside of her girls, and she brought that out of them. Now we're going to get into, and I may be skipping around all over the movie because there's so much of it that you have to unpack that I really don't have time to unpack, but you have to really unpack. If you notice, like in the movie, there is a part where Maddie Moss is directing the choir, and the sopranos are flat. The sopranos are flat. She takes her shoe off and she throws it. She says, "I ain't never heard no sorry sopranos." And listen, let me tell you, growing up in choir, that was like a standard. Like my choir teacher in high school used to throw things at us. I hope she don't see this. Y'all don't fire her. But anyways, she used to throw stuff at us when we didn't hit it. Like she'd throw tissue boxes, a shoe, because she was serious about those parts. And so, like, growing up, you start to relate. And so, like, later on down the line, you start to see that the girls didn't really get to have a social life. And they never really, it was like, you would see them you would see them, and I guess singing was their whole life. They never really got a chance to really explore, be who they were. And this goes to a point is we don't teach our what happened is they didn't teach them balance, and they didn't teach their kids that you can serve God but not be a slave to the church. And what's happening is, like, growing up, I can remember every Sunday, if we had a special event at church, we would always be in my dad. We would always have to be at church. We would always have to be playing, or things like that, because my dad was like, hey, y'all, you the singer. My brother was the drummer. So we would load up in my dad's SUV, go to church for rehearsals, but my dad was a little easier than Matty Mouse Clark, but we played football, went to football games and stuff like that. But I really, there was another part in there that really it really touched my heart, and it broke my heart. From the viewpoint of Denise Clark, I watched as a girl who was, and I'm not promoting promiscuity, or I'm not saying she was promiscuous or she made mistakes, but you watch somebody who was experiencing things or going through things at a very young age. But then I want to go to a particular scene where at the end, when Dr. Matty Moss Clark had negotiated the terms of the deal at the table, and she said, and they basically she was just like, I'm not signing the deal, and she's like, I'm not signing this contract, and you can clearly see that she was hurt. She was hurt because she goes on to say, she says, you gave everything to everybody else, but you left me with scraps. Bruh, that weighed so heavy. And if you are like a person who is deeply in love with God, it's like wow. Like, we do all of these things even as parents, and I'm not a parent, but it is such a disservice to be there for your kid, to serve the church so much, serve everybody else, but you go home and your kids resent you, or your kids don't love you. And just in the story, I kind of was like, wow. And it broke my heart because you saw how Matty Moss said, I will always have love for my sisters, but I have nothing left to give because I've given it all to you. Man, y'all, like, it's important that we talk about what are we doing. Even the church, I love the church. I serve in church. I lead worship at church, and I lead worship and I speak across just in my city in different things. But we have to address when enough is enough. For kids who are growing up in ministry, they need their parents. You have to be able to distinguish between, when am I doing too much for my church that I'm not doing enough for my family. And growing up, I battled with a lot of things. Like, sexuality was a question, depression was a question. Like, we go through these things, and if you do not have an outlet to talk about what we're going through, it will literally run you crazy. It will run you crazy because it hurts. You feel like you can't have an outlet to talk to. And then what if something happens where you are sexually molested in church and you're just told to suck it up and keep on singing? Like, no, that is not how things have been designed to, and we are not called to live that way. But I believe in that moment, it caused us. And it was also another moment where Twinkie had a nervous breakdown when her mama died. You literally saw someone who gave her all, and then when her mama died, she literally had nothing. She didn't know who she was outside of her mama. And it's crazy because Love your kids. Teach your kids to serve God, but they will not be a slave to the church. When I have kids, I'm going to teach them, yes, you're going to love God with your whole heart, but will this be your entire life? This doesn't have to be your entire life. If you don't want to go here and be at church 24/7, you don't want to. If you want to, fine. We have to be big enough to say, you know what? They can't do it. And we don't need to punish them for it. But you know what I've learned is I've learned to give grace to parents because that's how they were raised. And they were raised sometimes to not back down. They were raised to, this is the way, this is the standard, this is this. And growing up Church of God in Christ, you couldn't wear, like some of the women, you couldn't wear pants, you couldn't wear colored nail polish, turtlenecks and long skirts, even if it was in the heat. Man, some of us can go to movies, just different types of things, and it's so religious to the point where it caused a lot of kids to rebel. It caused a lot of people not to want to go to church. And long story short, it's never about that. It was always about relationship with Jesus Christ. He was always the one that defied the expectations of man, and he always the one, he said, I'm married to the backslider. And the reason why he said that is because he loved those who didn't pretend to be something that they weren't. He loved those who were honest and genuine, because those are the people, when you touch them in a special way and their lives get transformed, their lives are transformed for real. And I'm telling you, but you know, I feel bad. I'm glad, and I feel bad, but I'm also glad that the sisters really had a moment, to after their mother passed, to really just assess who they were. And I think in all of us, when we see that movie, church babies, young Christians, we have to assess who we are and where we are. Like, if you have mental illness, it's okay, sweetheart. It's okay to go to a therapist. It's okay to say, I'm feeling this. I don't feel perfect. I'm not perfect. It's okay to say those things, because God never created us to be perfect. He's perfect. That's who he is. And so it's important for us to address these things. And so I want you to know that it's okay. That movie really dove into some important issues, and that we got to stop pretending like we're okay. We got to stop pretending that we're good, and we give so much of ourselves to the church that we don't have anything for ourselves. Really hope this really made you understand that you are more than just being at a church every Sunday. You are more than just sitting down every day and feeling like you're a doormat to people. No, you know what you are? You are loved. You are worthy. You are beautiful, and you are filled with the presence of God, and you can do anything you put your mind to. Church doesn't have to be the end-all be-all to who you are. Go out into the world and show them who you are. Show the love of God, and know that he's with you. You like, we live life from that space, from that grace. You know what I mean? So, I love the movie. I love Denise, because Denise was one who was hurt. She was wounded, and we should never be to the point that we give so much to the church that we don't have enough for our family. It's a dishonor to our family. No, God loves our family. It's him, family, then the church. That's the hierarchy, and that we're supposed to do. So love your family, and then take care of yourself. Work out, eat healthy, go out, walk. You know, and even as I'm doing this video, I'm getting encouraged. I'm getting encouraged just like doing these things, and I want to share that with you guys. That moment really touched me, that we are more. You know, we are literally more than our gifts. We are more than our talents. We are called. We are anointed. You know, we're called to flip the world upside down and let them know who God is. But more importantly, I want you to know who you are. If you're watching this, be encouraged. Know who you are. Know that God is with you.